Absolutely. Yeah, I think I'm suffering from too much coffee right now.
Somewhere in between.
I know and I'm gonna own up to this because I was totally that person in my 20s who was trying to be all clever and aggro, going two things I don't understand in this world: non-alcoholic beer and decaf coffee. Well, now I understand those things all too well. Stand by for a second. I'm just gonna do an on-air break real quick. Moby Grape. We also had some of the band and some Bob Dylan. I'm making a mixtape for Rich Mattson and the Northstars today. And up next, we got some REM. We got some Cars. We even have some new Kurt Vile. But up first, we have this. Welcome to Simply Said, KFAI's Incredibles. I want to make sure I get these carts in because I am already late on that. And we got a few of them. But no, I think it's just the many ironies of just like now my heart actually can't handle too much caffeine, so I gotta back off that stuff. Like I gotta pick my battles where it's just like, all right, today at 9 a.m. That's when I had a cup, one singular cup of coffee.
Yeah. Normally, I just have one nice big cup.
Yeah.
But today,
Yeah. Nice. Well, it's I in a weird way, it's kind of a blessing in disguise because then I get to be a little bit more discerning about what I'm putting in the cup and try my hand at actually really enjoying like really nice coffee. So that's good. And now I don't, just guzzle it. Just quality, not quantity. And it used to be a whole heck of a lot of quantity, that's for sure.
Did you ever get into the what's that stuff that Red Bull?
Oh, I know people who swear by it, but that stuff scares the hell out of me because I don't actually really know what taurine does. I feel like that's got to mess with your nervous system in ways I don't even know if it's been around long enough for us to like really know what that is going to do.
Too much sugar.
Way too much. But yeah. What are you drinking?
Oh, it's just Maxwell House.
Nice. Heck yeah. I'm digging
that's a really good brand.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like I actually, I don't know if this is just like kind of me grown up where I grew up, but I just prefer the $1 cup of Wawa coffee, like it's like I think it's good, but I've been trying to get turned on to the stuff I really like is Puerto Rican, but like that stuff's intense. That stuff will like get you real going. So that's like a private stash, maybe like once or couple every blue moon or so. But enough of the coffee. I'm digging the vibes of your space. Thanks for tuning in from. Are you up in the Iron Range right now?
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I'm at home. Sparta Sound.
Nice. I hope we can. I want to talk about Sparta Sound, but I hope we can use some air breaks to talk about that, because like there is an audience that only watches the video, but then there's like this whole audience that never watches the video. Then there's an audience that watches both. So I really want to make sure we give credit is where it's due. But as far as the mixtape goes, can I just thank you for putting Link Ray on there?
Yeah.
Because oh man, I almost like sound I'm annoying at parties about this. There's a wonderful documentary I think everyone should watch about Link called Rumble, because like that is the song I teach my students first when I'm doing chord changes, and it's like I think the music gets taken for granted because now that everything exists all in one time all the time. And it's a lot of the same thing with like the Beatles and that era too. Like a lot of people just kind of like, well, yeah, it sounds like the time. You know, that's how everything sounded back then. It's just like, no, not Link and his band. Like
Yeah.
nothing sounded like that before Link. And then every like all the American bands were ripping off them, and then the UK bands were really just ripping off stuff like it's like Skiffle gets a lot of credit, but like Skiffle doesn't sound like Link. You know,
No.
like that's the real stuff, and that's like there was nothing before it. It started everything in my mind, but I could be wrong. But I think there's just so many cool things on that record, especially that I feel like other artists kind of like started putting in their things, and it just started so many tropes, so many like good American rock and roll tropes. Um, so like I gotta ask, what was the record you think started it all for you? You know, like was there a record, because you are not only a performer and songwriter, you produce records. Was there a band or an act that you discovered that was just like, all right, yeah, this is my life now. This is what I got to do?
Um, well, it goes back a little further than this, but I think where it really kind of started to make sense was when I discovered U2 in the early '80s.
Yeah.
U2 and then REM, the way they kind of did it themselves. And I think U2 is just how young they were. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I got to get on this right now.
Yeah. Yeah. You can feel it in that record's coming up actually, especially REM is after this song. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
I mean, U2 just amazes me. They're like 18 when their first album came out. The
Yeah.
drummer was 18. The other guys were like 19 or 20. And it still holds up. It's just so much
Oh
power
yeah.
in that music. It's just unbelievable.
I
And
think a lot of their records still hold up. And I think Bono's sanctimonious image kind of clouds how good a lot of their records are, because I think
yeah,
nowadays it's really easy to kind of poke fun at these larger than life personas, because we kind of have an unhealthy relationship with celebrity, and then it turns into like a parasocial relationship where like anytime Bono tweets something stupid, people are acting like that's someone they actually know.
yeah,
And
I am how they want it. It doesn't bother me.
yeah, and sure, like can a celebrity's personality kind of like ruin content for you? Sure. But I mean, I think a lot of people are just kind of piling on the fun, and they haven't like kind of like, yeah, Joshua Tree, great record. But there's also stuff before that that kind
Yeah,
of like, where it's like, oh, this is why the Edge is the Edge. Like this
yeah,
band had bite, you know, and they
yeah,
had energy.
yeah.
And especially the Boy record too, because there's a lot of guitar work on there where like I wish people who were like kind of rip on the Edge for being like kind of simple and effects driven would just kind of go back to those, you know, like he's really using effects as like just a different paintbrush, like a different tool. Like he's a pretty creative riff writer, actually.
He really kind of started something with that, I think.
Oh yeah,
I mean, he was the first guy that really came to the forefront that kind of relied on effects other than
yeah,
technical prowess, you know.
yeah,
Everybody else had to be like a big flamethrower on guitar, but the Edge is sitting there playing, you know, just these real simple riffs that anybody can play, and it's inspiring to listen to. If you want to play guitar, you listen to the Edge, you're like, dang, I could write something like this, you know, and it's catchy, and
yeah.
you add some effects to it, and you're like, wow,
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I can do
And
this.
effects are hard too. Like I feel like I was definitely pretty effect driven going on, and then I kind of felt it was like a hindrance to me, but I also have like weaponized ADHD. And then when I saw Neil Young live just kind of playing, he's just playing through a bunch of amps, and it's just like, oh, that's what I got to do. I got to I got to stop thinking about all this stuff and just play, and just try to so it's like people kind of write it off as like this thing where it's like, oh, you're cheating, and it's just like, have you tried using those things? Those like those things require touch and some forethought. You can't just plug it in and sound like the Edge. Like he was really kind of using it almost like a conversation. Like you got to really dial your slapback on the delay to get that thing, and that requires a type of rhythm that I don't realize people think that's pretty tricky to do. Like you got to have rhythm to get there, and he does.
And the hard part is trying to, when you're using effects, if you're singing, you got to kind of limit it, otherwise you look at your feet the whole time.
I mean, shoegaze is also a thing.
Yeah, that's why they're shoegazers, because they got to remember to switch that thing on.
All right, I still have trouble with like, oh, right, that's right. The last song has a ton of reverb on it, and I left it on, and then it's a totally different ball game, because it's a lot like the same thing with like watching like monster like flamethrower players, like you were saying, like Stevie Ray Vaughan does stuff like this all the time, where it's like just switching pickups in the middle of the solos to get tone. It's like the effects pedals are an extension of that. You still have to time it right with your feet. Otherwise, if it comes in too early, it'll muddy up the sound completely. If it comes in too late, it kind of sounds like you're either rushing or dragging and throwing the rhythm of the whole band off. Like I don't know. Nowadays I just kind of have a tuner, a delay, and an overdrive. I'm just kind of keeping it simple. Just because I don't know. Do you like what do you bring on your pedal board these days?
I've always had the same distortion pedal. I got it in 1981.
Whoa, nice.
It's the Boss PD1 rocker distortion.
Nice.
They didn't make them very long, but it's a sweepable distortion where you turn it on the bottom, and then you just kind of have a basic little overdrive. When you push on the top of it, people think it's a wah-wah or a volume, but it's actually a distortion pedal. So you push on this pedal and it gets more saturation. And then it has a top end of it where you really push down on it. It's kind of spongy. And you push that down and it goes, they call it warp.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a Big Muffy kind of tone.
Yeah.
I don't know why they quit making these things, but
that sounds amazing. Yeah, I don't know either.
And Jim Greedle has one, and I rarely see this pedal. And you look it up online, and they're really hard to find. But you might find a review, and the reviews they think it's the worst pedal. Oh, this thing sucks. I don't know. I've used it like a crutch ever since I don't know. For some reason, I went to the store to buy a distortion pedal, and the guy there said, "You need this one." And I don't know. That's been my sound. So there's that, and then I use a little tiny MXR microamp booster.
Yeah.
And then I've got a phaser that I've been using forever, and lately I've been using a delay pedal.
Nice.
Like a Memory Man, only it's like a miniature one.
That's so funny that people have negative reviews of it's like I wonder if they just don't understand why that thing is like it's kind of like when you want to find like good Thai food or good like Korean barbecue or just good Chinese food. You don't want to go for the 5-star reviews on Yelp. Yeah, those are just people who like they don't like it spicy. They just want it their way. You want a good 3.5 stars, because there's like a bunch of 1-star reviews where it's just like, why didn't they give me salt and pepper and soy sauce? And it's just like those people. It's like it's the people who actually do the thing, and they're like, oh yeah, this place, trust us, this place. Like it's like order anything, it's going to be amazing. You know,
I like to discover stuff on my own. You know. It's like Jermaine talks about how she knew these people that owned a resort in Ely, and people would complain because there's spiders in there.
Well, I mean,
what do you expect?
You kind of, like that far up. It's kind of, they're not really stuck with you. You're kind of stuck with them. Like you're the interloper here. Yeah. They just kind of.
I don't know. It's a weird analogy, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah, I get it's like the I love it up there. I think it's kind of important to just, everyone should just get up north at least once a year, if not to just see Lake Superior, but when I travel the country, I always, you're in a different spot when the trees are different.
Yeah.
The trees are different up there, not just in like what's up there, but like just they feel different.
Yeah.
It's just like a different kind of, and I feel like it's a good for your mental health because you get to just take your brain out and realize that there's a lot of stuff that's bigger than you.
It's a
And
vibe.
you're not above it. You're just kind of in it and a part of it. And I think it's just key. It's a humbling experience, and it just feels good to be up there. Oh, speaking of ADHD, this song's got about 30 seconds, and then we'll be live on the air.
Okay.
Got one more set before we do a cut of your stuff. So I'll try to bury the lead a little bit and then kind of work into the show at the Parkway for next break. But stand by.
All right.
The Cars. The Cars. Give me some slack here on KFAI. And if you're just tuned in, this is Desert Island, the show where I make mixtapes for my guests based on the 10 records they would bring to a desert island. We also heard some REM in that set, and Kurt Vile was at the top. So if you've been following us off mic, Rich and I have been kind of chatting about REM and some of the records that are on this list. If you want to follow us, you can do that now. We're on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, all that fun stuff. But if you're just tuning into Desert Islands, I have Rich Mattson with me right now, joining me from up at Sparta Sound right now. How you doing, Rich? Thanks for coming on the show.
I'm doing good today.
So yeah, this has been a lot of fun to chat, and we're gonna be chatting a lot more. But you got a record release coming up, and you're joined with 2 other bands. Now, did you produce their records as well?
Yes. Chemistry Set, they recorded and mixed their album here at Sparta Sound. And Edie Ray and the Blaze Kings, they did a bunch of recording here, and I played some guitar tracks on Edie's stuff, and then they mixed it with Rob Genetic in Minneapolis.
Oh, Rob's great. Yeah,
he's three albums that were recorded here at Sparta Sound.
Excellent. So that is a great night for music. 11/23, November 23rd, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving Eve. Really, everyone's got the day off, so you have no excuse not to be there. Yeah. But I guess because I have you with me, I've always been curious about people who write and perform, but also produce as well. This is kind of a chicken or the egg question. What do you think has a bigger effect on your craft? Do you take production from a songwriting point of view of how would I want this song to really sound and come alive? Or does the producer in you have more effect on how you write songs, knowing how to get the sausage made? Do you start when you're writing kind of already arranging in your head for production? What do you think has a bigger influence to your sound?
I think I can hear how I want it to sound in my head, and I don't know. I've been doing this for so long that I kind of have this formula, but I try to step outside the box as much as possible.
Yeah.
Especially at this point after so many albums, but I really, I started recording music in the 80s and eventually it wound up being my career, just doing this studio thing. And I really started it to record my own music, but I had so much fun recording my friends' music. And I just, I don't know, it's just something that I kind of have these audio visions, or, these.
Right. Yeah.
I'd say it's just, I can hear what I want want to get down. And over the years, I just keep collecting anything that makes a sound, and there's some way to make it happen.
And just chase that. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you could finally come on the show, because I feel like you've produced a number of records of people who've been on this show. So it's good to actually have you come on the show. And so your show at the Parkway Theater is November 23rd. We're going to be talking a lot about that, but we're also going to hear some of the records you produced for it. But before we get into all that, we still have some mixtape left to go here, because here on Desert Islands, I make mixtapes based on the 10 records you bring to a desert island. So we will get into U2 in this set. We were kind of talking about that off mic. And if you want to hear what we're saying off mic, go to your favorite social media du jour and follow us there. But up next, here's some X here on KFAI.
Got to switch mic. Webcam and the mic are on two different systems.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this wasn't on your list, but I try to find things that kind of remind me, or something that would make a good blend, and just kind of going from the Cars into U2, especially early U2, because I feel like when like Bono talks about punk, people are like, what are you talking about? It's like, well, if you listen to like the early U2 records, yeah, you get the influence. They were totally influenced by that stuff.
Yeah.
There's that attitude in there.
Absolutely.
And so we got some Blondie coming up, and then we're going to lead into
awesome.
U2. And
we love X too.
Yeah, what fascinating band. I wish I could have worked that show that when they were in town, but I had to do a different one, because I've never seen them, and they're one of the few bands I feel like every once in a while they get back out there.
Yeah, we were at that show, Jermaine.
I heard great things. I heard they still got it.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, the most impressive was that DJ Bonebreak, their drummer. I mean, usually the drummers are the first ones to kind of, aging just kind of.
Oh, it's punishing.
It's punishing when the joints. That guy, he's still got it all.
I don't know how people play percussion lifelong without kind of switching gears, especially kit, because that's like really hard on your body. And like it's just, especially the knees. I mean, like I have a friend, she plays like in a bunch of punk bands, and she's like 10 years younger than me. She's already having knee problems. She's already having like the knee problems of like an NFL running back, and it's just like it's no joke. And I feel like I've had to change my own technique just on fretting instruments, because every once in a while you get that weird tennis elbow thing creeping in, and then you gotta be mindful of your posture, and you gotta, that's when I start switching to like the weird classical thing, which doesn't feel comfortable for me, but ergonomically I get it. Like it does feel comfortable on my joints, but like once I kind of relax a little bit, like I can't I can't do practicing at home, sure, but it's hard for me to perform like that after a while. I feel like I turn into like a little bit of a shoegazy, like I just kind of stand there when I had the angle up, but it's there for a reason, like it definitely allows you to play a lot longer. But like I wouldn't even begin to think, what is an ergonomic way to play the drums?
Yeah, you got it. Well, I remember I went to Billy Cobham drum clinic with my buddy a long time ago.
Yeah.
And the real thing that he kept pushing on the guys, or on the all the drummers that were there, was set up so that everything's easy to reach.
Yeah.
Stretching. Everything should be comfort. I mean, really stress this, setting up your kit so that You don't have to reach for anything. And I don't know, that stuck with me.
Yeah, it makes sense until you see. Have you ever seen this band Battles?
No,
The
I've heard of them.
drummer from that band. I think he actually plays in a few other things as well. How many bands does he? Oh yeah. John Stanier, or I'm probably butchering that, but like he also played in that band Helmet. But like he sets his kid up in a really like he almost sets it up in like that Jack White school of thought of just like everything needs to be farther away. I have to work hard to like make things work, because he has a crash cymbal that's like way up here. And
Wow.
he'll just be drumming, and then every once in a while you'll see him like just kind of swat that thing, almost like he's got to make a point to go out of his way to reach it. But the thing is,
that's a good show.
Oh, it's good, but like he does so much acrobatic stuff. I'm like, how does he stay in time? Like, like it's amazing. But like it's also amazing because it's like I definitely can't do. I'm not that good of a drummer. I feel like I try to become a better drummer because I think it makes you a better player all around.
Absolutely, it does. I dabbled in drums for a while. I actually played in a band for two whole years, Danny Commando y Los Guapos. And I just wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. But after 2 years, I had to step down, because it's just, you know, every show you're setting up a kit, you're building this.
Yeah.
And then that takes all this time, and you got to haul in all these pieces. And then you're playing your ass off. Oh, sorry. And
you're good.
And after a 45-minute set, even for me, I was kind of exhausted. Where
oh yeah,
you know, I spent the rest of the night just kind of kicking back, and you know, didn't get the accolades or compliments that I would have if I was fronting the band. But I was like,
yeah, there's that great joke where it's just like, are you really getting into jazz, or do you just want to play smaller drums so you don't have to lift as much?
Yeah. My first one, the guy had the biggest drum kit. He had the cage and about 7 or 8 cymbals, and quite the project for him. And
I can't even imagine setting that up night in, night out.
Yeah, you need a roadie.
Well, that bar that holds all that, like, that thing is so heavy. The hardware itself is heavy enough, but like that system, those things are ridiculously heavy, and it's just like another thing on the. I don't know.
The thing is, that's the kit that you have to use then. And when I was doing live sound, people would, the drummers that would bring one of those in, I just go, oh my God.
Here we go.
Oh, no.
Here we go.
It's going to be a 25-minute changeover. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And it always was. And then they didn't want to quit. You know, it was just.
It's, I remember being that band where you go along and you almost like think it's a badge of honor, because you're like, yeah, we got an hour, and it's just like, you were only supposed to play 30 minutes. It's like, bag that, man, we can play all night. It's just like, this is a 4-band bill.
Yeah,
that's super, but you gotta like, we gotta keep it moving. Like, there's bar staff work here, there's other people, people had babysitters for this. Can you think about someone other than yourself for once? Like, if they want you to play 20, just play 20. Make it a good 20.
Yeah,
play 20.
Yeah, I always have mad respect for the sound guys or the stage managers that manage to get the band off the stage in time to get to keep everything running smoothly.
It's like herding cats.
Just be a jerk to the band. You're done. Get off. Billy Mattson was great for that. Get your shit off the stage.
Get out of here. Get out of here. All right, stand by. I'm going to do a local calendar, and then we're going to play the new record here.
Okay.
U2. Off a Boy, that is I Will Follow. We also had some Blondie in there. and then X at the top of that set. So if you're just tuning in to Desert Islands, we are broadcasting live from the West Bank of Minneapolis here at KFAI. If you're in Minneapolis, here are some interesting things you can see this weekend and beyond. Starting with tonight at Ice House. We got Bob Frey and Maya Elena. That's tonight. Tomorrow night, Loser Magnet, Busey, Lost Leader, Night Jobs at Mortimer's. Also tomorrow night, Products, You Said Strange, Kate Malenefi at Ice House, and then Maddie Thies. We heard Maddie's new single last week. Maddie's release show will be tomorrow at SK Coffee. So if you like what you heard, you can hear it again. Friday, Christy Costello has got a band she's putting together, and she's going to play at Palmer's, and Pill Cutter, Bermuda Squares, and Arctic Universe are going to join her. Also Friday, Little Fevers and Sam Cassidy, The Hook and Ladder. That's in the Mission Room, their side stage. It's nice. It's a cool room. You should check it out. Another Heaven was they came on the show a while back, and I think they got some new material. So they're going to be playing with Doomchild and Malamiko at Ice House on Friday. Saturday, Dalmatian Club, Rigby, Allergen. This is all happening on Saturday at the Whole Music Club. Also on Saturday, we got Christopher Michael Jensen. CMJ was also on the show a few weeks ago. He's back from tour. He brought Optimistic with him. Uncle T is also going to be at this show. Jada Brown, and then Kin Collective will be at the Underground Music Cafe in Minneapolis. Sunday, Leslie, Serious Machine, Full Catholic, and Asia Minor at Amsterdam Bar and Hall. And then we have the 20th anniversary of Womenfolk. So if you are a KFAI junkie like myself, you know that Ellen Stanley's program is before this one. And if you're one of the folks that listens to the archive after the fact, hey, I don't blame you. Life is crazy, life is busy, and you can get stuff on demand. Click on Womenfolk, because Ellen Stanley for 20 years has been curating an excellent playlist of femme folk week in and week out. And at the Parkway Theater this Sunday, she's going to celebrate 20 years with Anne Reed, Molly Mayer, Becky Schlegel, Mary Kutrafello, Ellis Delaney, The OK Factor, and many, many more. And then looking ahead, Ice Climber is going to be at every Tuesdays at the White Squirrel still to the end of this month. But I would be remiss to not bring up this show, because here on Desert Islands, I'm talking to Rich Mattson. Made a mixtape based off of Rich's 10 records he'd bring to a desert island. And guess what? Triple release show. This is a Sparta Sound special. So we were talking about this earlier, but let's talk about it again, because I want to play your new single. We're also going to hear some new local music, but I also want to hear from Chemistry Set and E. Ray and the Blaze Kings. We're also going to hear all of that. We're also going to hear Jermaine's record as well, who plays with you in the Northstars. Yes, and yeah. So let's talk about this show. When does it start, and what is the order? Like, how do you order a three band Hydra like this? Who's opening and who's closing?
Well, the doors are at 6, I believe. The show will start at 7. Edie Ray will play first, followed by Chemistry Set, and then we'll close out the night, Rich Mattson and the Northstars.
Excellent. So you did a bit of
kind of by order of appearance on who got booked on the bill.
I love it. I mean, it's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So did you play on all 3 records, or I know you produced them and you did a little bit of playing, but did you play on all 3, or just produced all 3?
I did a lot of guitar on Edie's album, and the Chemistry Set album. There was one tune that I played lead guitar on. Kind of towards the end of the session, I couldn't help it. I just said, "You guys care if I throw down the guitar on this?" And they're like, "Please do."
Yes. Well, so let me ask you a question about Sparta Sound, because I know you've been producing a while, but when did you officially found the studio? When was the official first Sparta release? Was it one of your own, or did you kind of like give it a name after you started producing some of your friends' work?
Well, I actually started recording music when I lived in Minneapolis,
Oh
and
wow.
the first studio was called Flower Pot.
Okay. Yeah.
Flower
Yeah.
Pot Studios, and that was in 1992. We lived in Uptown on Lake and Garfield, me and three other guys, and we practiced in the basement. And there was a bedroom in the basement. And we're like, why don't we just cut a hole in this wall and put a window there, and then it'll be a studio.
There you go.
And I found this 12-track recording machine. It had 12 channels of mixing and 12 channels of recording, all in one unit. And it was an analog recording machine, a Akai MG 1212. I
Yeah.
set that up in there, and I've just been buying, piece by piece, a microphone here, an effects unit there, headphones, cords, mic stands, all that fun stuff, piece by piece. And I quit my day job in 1994 and never looked back. I just kept on recording. I think my initial rate was $12 an hour, and eventually in about 2000, it was October 2005, I moved back to the Iron Range. I came across this building for sale up here, and it was a Apostolic Lutheran Church in Sparta, Minnesota,
Oh, yeah.
just outside of Eveleth. And I took a look at it, and the place just kind of overwhelmed me. I was like, this is so perfect. And the price was right, and I just had to do it. And moved the studio up north, and it took a while, but things are going good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a number of records that I played on this show have been coming out of Sparta Sound, including this one. Let's get to your new one out there. This is a track called Apex here on Desert Islands.
There we go. I think I'm back on. Yeah, I wanted to make sure that first hit didn't clip.
Yeah. It kicks in.
Yeah, so from here on out, I didn't realize how much, and I do this all the time. I yak too much, and then we're running out of time. So we got some local music, and then we're gonna get some chemistry sets, some Edie Ray, and then we got something off a Generator, and then I think we're gonna close with the Birds. But all after, we have a lot to get to before that. I'm actually really glad you suggested Apex, because that was the track I wanted to play anyway. And then when you're like, hey, please play this one, it's like I love what you're doing. I love how you open it, because that's like a riff that you could hear like on like a Vampire Weekend record, and you're not like trying to like emulate that sound. You're like taking it and then just making it your own. It's like it, because I think that's what music should be about. It's just like, hey, I like burgers, I'm gonna make one with garlic bread. Like you're not trying to like change the thing. You're just trying to make it you and trying to make it yours. And it's just like it's just a cool riff, and it's a cool sound. Like it's like
A lot of times when I to write a song, I'll just pick up a guitar and I'll be playing guitar for a half hour to an hour, and just playing whatever comes to mind. It'll be just a flow of this and that and the other thing, and then suddenly I'll come up with a riff like that, and I'll go, well, that's it. And then I'll get my phone and I'll record it on the voice memos, just that little riff, and save it for later, and I'll put aside some time to just listen to those little things, little snippets. And I've always had some kind of a dictaphone where I can save things like that. And I'll come back to them and go, oh, I can work on this today. And
how often do you dig into that well? Because I try to do that, and then I find these things like years later, and I never work on them, which is like, that's probably
Yeah.
just a me thing.
Well, it gets harder and harder to find to make the time to do it.
Right. Right.
Just with all this other stuff around that, just so much other stuff to do. And I swear to God, every time I finish an album and put it out, especially nowadays, I'm kind of like, okay, that's enough. I'm never
Right.
making another album ever. That's enough songs, done. But then I don't know. I'll nothing feels better than finishing a song. I don't know. There's just something about it that when you finish a tune and you get your little demo together of it, it just, I don't know. For me, it keeps me going. There's nothing.
Yeah. It's an indescribable feeling, because like I'm in the middle of trying to finish my EP, and you're absolutely right. Every record you do is just like, I hate this. Why am I doing this? This is so much work. I think I'm done after this one. And then the second you're done, you start thinking about, all right, when's the next one?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't get, and I think there's also like just different trials and tribulations too. Cause like certain records like have this like weird, like the one I'm working on, like I've had records in the past where this would happen. Like everything just goes wrong, and you just somehow just got to keep muscling it across the goal line.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like had the thing where like the DAW I was working with was just like totally not working. So I was trying to like use Pro Tools, the free version, and kind of like bounce between things. And then the whole thing got ate. So I just had to take the raw files and start over and start putting them back in. And like, you're so sick of like this process.
Can be so stifling.
Yeah, because
you're
not playing.
Yeah, I stuck with my analog setup for as long as I could, because I just didn't want to have to sit and learn a whole new system. I just want to record.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit and be like, ooh, this one has this feature and that, and you can.
I'm with you on that. I think the only thing I like about the modern thing is it's really easy to, when you run out of tracks and you have an idea of like, oh, that'd be a cool harmony. It's just kind of easy to drop it in there.
Yeah.
But like there is something, because every record I've done was kind of like on some analog ancient thing. And I don't know why. I just think it's easier to just be like, you put stuff in, it goes on the thing, and then you get stuff out. And I'm learning to embrace the technology. I think a lot of the pitfalls of me using it are probably just me not learning it enough. But like, I just feel more comfortable on those 8-track tape recorders where you're just plugging in and it's on the tape. And then when you add overdubs, you can kind of mix it on there. And then, like it feels more natural. But maybe that's just the way I learned, and I don't know any other way.
I was fortunate enough to get a computer that was built by a friend of mine who really knew what I'd been up to, and he kind of segued me into the digital realm, where I don't know, I can't thank him enough. Brian Herb, thank you.
Brian Herb's amazing. That guy's such a nice guy. Oh man,
he's the best. He helped me out so much with that. But what was I going to say? Just I had a good point there.
If it comes back, we can get to it. Yeah, Brian is one of those guys. His band is really good, and the outstanding achievements and excellence. It's like, I always love trying to see him, because like he's never in town.
Yeah.
He's either like, he texts for everybody. Like everyone, if you follow his like socials, it's like, oh yeah, I'm in Barcelona working with Alice in Chains, or Bush, or something. Where it's
a mad genius.
it's yeah. I mean, he's an excellent tech. Like the guy knows his stuff, but he's such a nice person too.
Yeah. But I get people all the time that they'll be like, "Can you help me set up my studio? I just bought this and this and this and this." And I go, "I know how to work my stuff, but I don't know if I can set up your."
That's exactly how I am. Like I feel like a lot of people
want to, but technically.
I would love to help. I just don't think I can. if that makes any sense.
I've tried, and I don't know. I look at some of the newer stuff, and I just throw out my hands. It's like you got to just poke around on it. You're not going to break it. Just.
I feel this. Well, I also feel like it's. I feel like I learned how to do this stuff like for my own purposes. Almost to the point where like I feel like if I took some of the stuff I work on to an actual studio, it would like hinder the process, because they would look at my crazy backwards process and be like, what is this? what are you doing? You know, like why are you doing it this way? And I'm really just kind of, you know, back in my childhood bedroom where I'm hanging up blankets and you're in this little tree fort trying to, you know, like I'm just trying to chase sounds, and I'm probably doing it the wrong way.
Yeah.
But then like I'll play shows and then people ask me about gear, and it's I feel like I'm trying to be agreeable, but sometimes I feel like I'm at the DMV in a different country, you know, where they'll be like, oh yeah, I got this True Bypass thing or the other day. And, you know, it's like, if you got this XK10 extension with the thing and it runs right through my iPad. And I'm just like, wow, that sounds cool. But I don't have the heart to tell you that I don't know what any of that means. I don't know how, like, I'm happy for you. Like you sound psyched about it, but like, I would not know what to do with that.
Yeah, well, people try different DAWs. I don't like that word DAW.
Yeah, is it even like, is it DAW or DAW? Because DAW just sounds like, you know.
So many people they try them all, and
yeah,
I've had the same one forever, and like I've been at some sessions where they use Pro Tools, and I'll be sitting there just with ants in my pants, just going, why does this look so difficult? I just asked you to turn down this one part, and you're clickety.
Like this has got to move, and this has got to, and then you got to open a menu, and like I did the same thing where I tried like every single workstation out there, and I haven't really found one that I feel comfortable with. I feel like I have stared at them enough that I can make them work.
Mm-hmm.
Now I just use Pro Tools because I bought an interface and it just came with it.
Yeah.
And then I realized Avid makes you subscribe like to their things. So now I feel like I'm like just locked in, where I'm like, well, I paid for Pro Tools, so I might as well learn how to use and I'm still learning. It's fine. I'm starting to get it, but now that I get it, it just kind of feels like every other one out there. And I know there's probably some people going like, that's because you suck at it. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. I totally suck at it. Like, oh, oops, sorry. We're gonna be. Let me play some undercart writing thing, because we haven't gotten to that much yet.
The Internet Geeks at IP House are proud
before we get into, before I forget to play them entirely, and then I got a whole different group of people yelling at me. Okay, so this one is about a minute long. And then once it's done, we'll be back on the air. We're running out of time, so let's try plugging the album again, because we might have some new listeners who weren't with us before, and just kind of refresh the date, but also kind of talk about the music itself more.
Sure.
This has got about 30-ish seconds, and then we'll get into Chemistry Set, Edie Ray, Jermaine's record, and hopefully, yeah, we might have to cut the last few songs out, but that's okay. I'll post the playlist.
The birds tune in there.
Yeah, we'll get the birds in there. I think that'll be our closer.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that'll be it. All right, stand by. All right. So we heard some new music from Kate Malenefi. Kate is also from the band Keep for Cheap. They just opened for Devotchka not too long ago. We also heard some Phoenix Dion. Really cool band. If you haven't checked them out yet, they're making some waves. And then we heard the new Rich Mattson and the Northstars from the upcoming record. So I actually want to before I get ahead of myself. When is the actual release of this record? Because you can hear it on some streaming services right now. Does it on 11/23 or can you get a physical copy of this right now?
You can get it right now from our Bandcamp page. It's spartasound@bandcamp.com. And the release date was November 4th.
Oh, sure. Excellent.
It's out there.
So it is out there right now. If you like what you heard, you can hear it again. Do you have a preferred streaming service you would encourage listeners to go for, or is it all kind of the same? Because now it's kind of a controversial subject about which streaming service you use, and I know some people prefer direct or one or the other.
It doesn't matter to me. I personally subscribe to Apple Music, but I like Bandcamp. You can listen to the whole album on Bandcamp, and if you like it, you can go ahead and click that buy option and get
there you go.
Get yourself a real vinyl record.
There you go.
Or a CD.
Hey, I was like the CDs are. This is going to be such a weird sentence, but CDs are coming back in a weird.
I hope so.
I actually like cassettes, but it's not my preferred way of listening. I usually do it in the car because for the longest time, my touring van, that's all it had. It's just a cassette player. So I started collecting them. But at home, it's not the format I listen to. I actually listen to mainly vinyl at home, or because I subscribe to all the streaming services, you just kind of, if you find a new thing, you look it up. I treat the streaming services like a Google search at this point. I kind of feel like they're all kind of get you there. But yeah, Bandcamp is excellent and fun, and you can get the new record right there. Can you also order a vinyl directly from Bandcamp as well as the audio?
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's the best place to order it. It's also in stores all over the Twin Cities.
Awesome. There we go. So now you can get it at your favorite record store if you are inclined to do so. I want to start talking about the people sharing the bill with you once again. So we were talking about Edie Ray and the Blaze Kings and Chemistry Set, who you produce these records, and you're going to release them at the Parkway Theater next week, Thanksgiving Eve. But let's actually listen to these records, starting with Edie Ray here on
Switch the microphone once again. Yeah, I just looked at the time, and if I feel like I'm rushing you, it's because we're getting close to the end of the show. So I want to at least make sure we have time to get this music in.
Yeah.
Also, Democracy Now! Is the show after me, and that show is actually a big deal.
Yeah. They'll cut you right off.
And they should, because the world is insane. Although I definitely have had friends like tune into the show and they'll be like, yeah, great set. And then out of nowhere, that show after you was a real bummer. Because I get it. The last couple years, if you tune into that show, it's pretty much like it'll be fade out of this and then like live from New York. This is Amy Goodman. Everything's on fire. Here's Democracy Now.
Yeah, she's got a very stern voice, and
but yeah, she's doing the big work though. I mean, it's the fact that she does that program week in, week out, year in, year out is just
okay. Here's the deal.
Yeah, someone's got to be that. Someone's got to be that.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't mind. I don't mind doing shows and talking, but I am not. I don't. You don't need me on that wall. I just. Yeah. No. I joined the circus for a reason.
Yeah.
I can't. No. I think a lot of the times I ended up doing this stuff is because I probably just couldn't really hold on to a real job, and I've done a lot of them.
Yeah. Same here, man.
It's just, man, I don't know. So chemistry set it's. My friend Ben Cook Phelps recently played with this band. That was the first time I've heard of this band. So they're new to me, but like, is this a new band or have they been around a while? I know they've been playing, but like in this configuration, is this kind of a newer project?
They've been around, I don't know, probably at least 10 years or so. I've recorded
Really?
3 albums for them.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Like I really dig what I hear. You know, Ben said they're great live. And that's kind of the fun of doing this show is like, I get stuff kind of hand delivered to me, and then I can discover things, because music discovery is so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard. I don't know how people do it.
I don't know. I'm on First Avenue's mailing list, and I look at the emails and I just go through and I'm like, how many bands do I recognize? And it's getting to the point now where I'm just going, I got to start listening to some music and checking out some new stuff, because I don't know anybody anymore.
Yeah.
It's natural progression of being 200 miles away from the action, and I'm 55.
There's kind of a virtue in being 200 miles away from the action, though. But like, also the pandemic kind of skewed everything, because there was a lot of avenues that rose that wouldn't normally be as dominant in the ticket sales than the usually, like the rise of YouTube stars has kind of like, I've been working a lot of YouTuber shows.
Wow.
And it's great. I'm glad they found a lane, because it's pretty cool that they actually could do that. But like, the amount of acts that I'm just, like you're sitting there kind of like doing stage security, and you're just like, I have no idea what this is. And then people will ask me, they're like, who's on next? I'm like, when I usually point to the sign that has because I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. And there is a lot of stuff coming through that like I do know and get excited for. But there's especially podcasts. A lot of podcasts rose through and it makes sense, because we're all at home. You got to do something where you like walk around, but like, podcasters are like rock stars now, and it's like a whole deal. We talked about setting up drums. I feel like that's the dream. Like, you just need a microphone and talk, and they're selling out like theaters. But yeah, that's when I started to know, I'm aging okay, I get it now. It's like there's like, because I used to think like, no, I'm with it, and now there's like this whole thing. I'm like, yeah, life goes on.
Every week there's about 200 new releases, at least 200.
Yeah, and it's like, I think I saw a statistic. There's like 100,000 songs every week that get.
Oh, well, that's way more than 200.
Well, I think it's a mixture of singles and full releases that have like 12 tracks.
Yeah.
And like, people upload singles, but it's just like, you get 200 albums, 10 songs each. Yeah, that's a couple hundred. That's like 20,000. That's like
a lot of music. There's no way to keep up with it.
And it's kind of inspiring in a way. Like at first I thought I had to keep up with it. And then when you realize it's physically impossible to consume any of it in one lifetime. And that's true of movies and books as well. It kind of like, it reminds me of that Lester Bangs quote where it's just like, I firmly believe music chooses you.
Mhm.
And I think there's a lot of truth to that because like there's so much music out there. Eventually you kind of need to let it find you. Because if you're gonna look for it, well, you're gonna find it. You're gonna find a lot of it.
Absolutely. We've been dishing out music for so many years, and I don't, spend chunks of money to promote it and anything. I just hope that it finds the right people and they spread the word, and word gets
Yeah.
around that we're putting out quality stuff, and hopefully it's considered quality stuff. I
Yes.
my heart and soul into it, and
Yeah.
hope
I
it
think
gets.
that's all you got to do. I like to see it as like I'm never gonna be a big take over the world chain restaurant. I'm more of like a hole in the wall, joint where it's just like maybe you've never heard of it, maybe you've never been there, but the people working the grill put everything they got into it. And if it's not for you, that's fine. But like I like to think if you come to the restaurant, you're gonna leave happy.
Yeah,
And at least that's what I try to do. Of just because at the end of the day, it's entertainment, and the world is nuts to the point where anyone is going to argue on the internet. But the one thing I did notice in the pandemic, because I am mainly a solo act, and during the pandemic, it was really easy to get booked as a solo act.
yeah.
Other than food, I don't know anything else in this world that brings people from both sides of the aisle together like music. Like that's the only thing I've seen where like people just kind of shut up and enjoy themselves. And it's like it's important, like and it's not about winning the game. It's just like it's there is something to that energy of people gathering together. And if you're lucky enough to be the person on stage that's
Yeah,
inspiring those people, that's awesome. But like it's also important to go and watch or go help do the thing. But like it's one of the few things that isn't trying to sell you something other than like please buy my record. But like it's just like no, we're just here to be here. We're in it. This is all that's there, and that's really important. Nowadays,
it's about community and getting people together, really.
yeah, and
Basically, with
nowadays it's hard for people to
people
gather without some sort of agenda,
Mhm.
where it's just like we gotta clean up the beach, or we gotta some weird political thing, or some it's just still one of the few things that people can gather and not think about all that stuff.
That's why I don't get all like be quiet. There is music playing, As long as people are getting together,
Yeah,
if the music isn't has a earth shattering message where you really got to listen.
yeah,
I don't
oh
mind
yeah,
if people are talking and catching up
yeah.
with each other, and oh, there's this great band playing. Let's go dance.
That's why it's there. Like we're vibe merchants. We're just
Yeah,
making a vibe and allowing people to enjoy themselves. And it's like the talking I don't mind. I do think heckling is kind of like and
yeah,
thankfully we're not stand-up comics. I feel like musicians don't get heckled
yeah,
anymore. But like it's like the same gene people have who like talk during movies in the theater, like it's just like
yeah.
that's the thing I don't understand.
Yeah, going
'Cause
back
it's
and
like,
talk. That's if it's a
yeah,
quiet show, go in the back and
yeah, it's like keep the comments to yourself, like or say them to your friend later if you think you're that funny.
yeah.
But like ooh, we're gonna be back here after
Okay.
Jermaine Gemberling off a generator. That's Wood Smoke. We also had Chemistry Set, Not Time for Goodbye off of Red, Black, and Blue. And then Edie Ray and the Blaze Kings was at the top of that set. All of those artists are going to be on stage at the Parkway next week, 11/23, November 23rd, Thanksgiving Eve. It's a wonderful night to see music. So if you're just tuning in, this is Desert Islands. This is the show where I make mixtapes based on my guests, 10 records they would bring to a desert island. And today I made one for Rich Mattson, who's joining me right now. But we kind of have to get to democracy now. So I guess I want to thank you for coming on the show first and foremost. But before we get going, oh, absolutely, thank you. This is awesome. But is there anything you would like the listeners to know about before we sign off here?
Let's see. Please come to the show. Check out our new album out there. It's on Bandcamp. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, all the other ones. And I don't know. I feel like it's our best album to date. And I say that every time, but this one really is something special. We did it over the pandemic, and a lot of it was done in separate studios, separate living spaces, and
wild.
Cobbled it together. And I don't know. I really like it. I think you will too.
Well, if you like what you heard, you can hear it again. Find it on Bandcamp. It's on streaming right now. And if you are in the Twin Cities, check out that show at the Parkway Theater. Next week, I'm going to be speaking with Colin Bracewell, who is also playing a Thanksgiving Eve show. And we're going to be talking all about it. But we got one more pick from your Desert Islands list. So let's close things out with the Birds. Here is If You're Gone off a Turn. Nice. Stay tuned. I'm so glad you put wait, am I on the Okay. I'm so glad you put recommendations of tracks, because it's like you're right. Of course, Turn. Everyone knows that song, but like the Birds are so much more than Turn. Like it's like it just they get trippy, they get a little psychedelic, but they also get kind of sugary and pop, but they also really good country in there too. They're just a fascinating band, you know.
They really pioneered so many different kinds of music. It's just inspiring to, just listen to all the styles that they put out there: psychedelic, folk rock, country rock, acid rock. It's just.
And they had eras too. I mean, like that, and so many alumni in that band. I mean, like you got David Crosby. You also had Graham Parsons, and it just it's just an interesting.
Gene Clark is one of my favorite songwriters. He wrote a lot of the hits, and just an amazing songwriter.
Yeah. Oh, amazing players in that band too. That also like went into other amazing bands from that era. It's like,
but this album, Turn. I got this. This was my uncle's record. He died of a melanoma at age 12.
Whoa.
At 12 years old, he could already play guitar, and he was learning Beatles songs, and
whoa,
and he could play bar chords and everything. So he passed away in 1967. This was his album, and I just remember I'd go to my grandma's and sit with my other uncle who had Down syndrome, and we'd just sit and listen to records, and he had stuff like Partridge Family and Elton John, and there was this Birds album, and I just sit and I'd look at that album cover. I'm like, these guys are the coolest dudes I've ever seen in my life, and this music is just freaking me out. It's just so thick and there's just so much depth, and I mean it had everything, and I don't know, it just blew me away. I was probably like 8 years old or something when I first heard it, and I just got lost in it, and eventually I worked up the nerve to ask my grandma if I could take it home She cried. She didn't want me to have it. I don't know.
I get it though.
Yeah.
It reminded her of him. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the artifact too. There's actually the Partridge Family had some interesting stuff too. I remember watching that show just because we weren't allowed to watch much as a kid, so I'd stay up at Nick at Night and that would be on.
Mm-hmm.
But a crazy record that I'd written off just because I only knew, you know, Donny Osmond and the Osmonds from it's just like, what is this? What is going on? The Osmonds have this record called Crazy Horses.
Crazy Horses.
That record is amazing. Like that's
rock and roll.
Yeah, it's a record. My friends who work at record stores love putting that record on because they're like, if you can tell me who this band is,
yeah, nobody would.
your
Yeah,
purchase is free. Nobody gets it. I played that record for my parents, and even they were just like, "This is the Osmonds? I don't remember this. When did they do this?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's the Osmonds." Yeah. Like was that like a theremin that we were using? Like yeah.
Yeah.
It also grooves too. Like it's not like a heavy metal record. I mean, maybe back then it might have been considered heavy metal, you know, like, but like it's a rocking record. You know, it's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
I love hanging out, but now that Democracy Now! is on, I gotta sign off here. But Rich, this was a blast. Thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome. Thank you, Doc. Good talking to you.
Yeah, it was great talking to you. Have fun at the show. I am unfortunately going to be working a different show, which is why I try to invite people on this show because I can never go to shows. So I hope it's awesome. It's great, Bill, and record sounds great. So thanks for stopping by.
Very much.
All right. Have a good day.